Welcome to the Creepin' It Real Show, your one-stop shop for weird news, movie reviews, otherworldly, and paranormal shenanigans. We'll take a dive into what's going on in creepy pop culture. You can follow Creepin' It Real Show on Twitter at creepin_it. You can email us at creepinitrealshow@gmail.com. And you can also go to our website, creepinitshow.com.
Welcome to Creepin' It Real. I'm one of your hosts, Yardley, and I'm going to bring in my co-hosts really quickly so we can dive into this awesome movie that we just watched, Raw, which was on Netflix. So, from the great state of California, Moni, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm good. It was 95 freaking degrees out here, so I guess it decided to be summer. But other than that, everything's going well. How about you guys?
Hey, what's up, Kristi?
Oh, hey, I'm doing good. I am freshly back from vacation into fucking cold and rain, so that wasn't exactly a pleasing situation, but whatever. And I'm pretty sure that DirecTV has some kind of crazy conspiracy against me because I'm really fucking pissed off. I'm behind on the terror, and I record all the episodes, and all of them have recorded except the second episode. So, I can't watch the third. So I go into, I'm like, no problem. I'll just get on demand. It's all the episodes are there except the second fucking episode. So weird. I'm going to have to like download it online or something. I am so pissed off. And it's not like I have a lot of time on my hands anymore to do shit like that. So I expect my recordings there when I look them up, and they're not. And now I'm pissed, and I hate DirecTV anyway. So this is just another freaking notch on the I hate you DirecTV bedpost.
Well, you know what? These are some first world problems that we have, and it's all good because I feel the same way. I'm really into the terror at this point as well. Now, normally, I think the first episodes, wasn't it like they put out the first two that they came out, I think, the Sunday with the lead in?
Yeah, and wasn't it also like a 2-hour premiere or something? So maybe it's missing because it's the first one? I don't know.
That's what I'm thinking, because I thought it was 2 episodes that kind of, because you remember
is that what it is?
Well, yeah, because remember it followed The Walking Dead on that one Sunday, and then I think it was 2 hours, which was episodes 1 and 2, and then I think last week was episode 3, and if I'm not mistaken, it is nights now, so I think episode 4 is tonight.
That's why. Okay, you still suck, DirecTV, but
I was going to say, you don't have to apologize to the shitty cable company. So.
Yeah, they still, well, they're satellite, and they suck assholes. Every time it rains, we lose freaking connection.
Don't put a plague on their houses, because I could be totally wrong. This is just my assumption at what may have happened.
I thought that was weird. Yeah. I thought it was weird it went from episode 1 to episode 3 on demand as well. I mean, that didn't make any sense, but I'm thinking it's a conspiracy because I want to watch and get caught up, and then I was also thinking, no way can we be that far if, I was thinking that was I'm like, did I black out a week? Like, I was really confused. So
it's possible.
We're all making sense. Yeah, I mean, that I did actually black out a week last week, so I'm trying to reanimate a couple of brain cells that I've killed the last week on vacation, so I wasn't prepared for really anything. So anyway, all right, now I'm happy. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Well, hey, you know what? No worries. We want to get everything clear. Now, before we dive into Raw, I just wanted to let everyone know you can find us on iTunes and Podbean. We have Facebook pages up, the Creepin' It Real Facebook page. So we've got a lot of avenues for everyone to get in contact with us. And something that I definitely want to put out there again is if you want to send us personal feedback, tell us what you like about the show or some things that you think might help us to make the show a little bit better, you can email us at creepinitrealshow@gmail.com. Well, all right, everybody. Well, let's talk about a little bit of Raw. Raw, it's funny because, for me, starting to do the show with both of you, it's kind of expanded the way that I look up, horror or suspense films or anything like that. So,
Yardley, has it expanded your tastes? Get
yeah,
it?
Wow.
it has. Especially after this flick. But but there's been kind of a thread. I've been finding myself enjoying foreign horror films a little bit more than some of the stuff that's made here domestically. It just seems like it seems like that they take a lot more chances, but I think we have the budgets for huge things over here. So when we have a lot of money, we tend to spend that on the visual aspects of horror or sci-fi or anything like that. And I found that a lot of foreign films rely a little bit more on suspense and certain buildups for certain things. And they use certain techniques that might be a little bit different from the way that American filmmakers go about making a horror film. So that was one of the things that I found about Raw. Now, I myself, I would consider this more of a, suspense kind of thriller type thing. I don't even want to say it's really a thriller, but it's just more a suspenseful thing because you get so invested in this character, Justine, as we go through this movie. Now, I just wanted to ask both of you, or either of you can just dive in and give me your opinion, but do you feel like the concept of a young vegetarian undergoing basically a hazing ritual at veterinary school, and she begins to get a unbridled taste for meat after that, do you think that as a concept for like a horror movie is good? Just like a vegetarian eats meat and then turns into like a cannibal?
Yeah, I think it was a cool concept.
Yeah, it was definitely original. You have to say that. I have to tell you guys really quick before we dive into the whole movie is Yardley picked this movie out, and like I said, I was on vacation, and when I sat down to finally watch it, the night before, my in-laws had taken all the grandkids out to eat hibachi, and we didn't go. We went off and did our, us parents got a break and went off and did something else. So the kids brought home all this fucking hibachi leftovers. So that next night, I'm like, I think I'm going to eat hibachi leftovers and watch this movie. Not really putting two and two together that that's probably not a good idea. And I gagged on my food. I've never done that before, but the hair part that we're going to talk about later, and then the finger part, I was gagging on my food. I had to just finally put it down and go, I can't eat this. And that, me not eating food, like, you really have to do some crazy shit for me not to eat food. So I have to say kudos to them, because you all know I like fucked up stuff, and so the more fucked up the better. And that they have done something that no movie has ever been able to do before.
Well, shit, if it had worked for me, it would help my diet. I wish it had worked that way.
I watch it every day. So, yeah, but anyway, I just had to tell you that, because it was, I just was like, oh my God, I can't eat this. Like, after watching that, that's never happened to me before. So, yeah. Anyway, moving on. But yeah, I thought it was a good concept. I thought it was different. It was original. I consider it horror. I know a lot of people are saying it's not. It was pretty damn bloody. And to me, horror is slasher, bloody, guts, and it definitely had a lot of like thriller and suspense, like, what the hell's going on with this girl, and what the hell's wrong with her sister. And then, but there was a lot of gore in it too. So I classify it as horror, but maybe I'm just not good with my genres. I don't know.
Oh, Moni, what do you think?
I think they go hard in Europe as far as hazing rituals, apparently, because holy shit, dude. And she was supposed to be like this 16-year-old. But I think the concept was really cool. And I think that I don't want to hash up too much of what Kristi said. I don't want to rechew or regurgitate anything that she's already said. It's a cool concept. I am looking forward to getting into the actual execution of said concept because
There were
I was
definitely some things I was questioning and
into
going,
that.
what? No.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, then, let's dive on in. At the beginning
Aye.
of the movie, we essentially start off with our main character, who's Justine. Her mother, and her father are eating in a restaurant where Justine is accidentally given some meat in the vegetarian dish that she had ordered. Her mother's furious. She storms off to set the restaurant workers straight. And pretty much from the jump of the episode, it kind of sets the tone to let you know where Justine and her family are coming from, as her upbringing, pretty much as a vegetarian. So as we were talking about earlier, she ends up going to veterinary school, and apparently like here we have hazing rituals, or we used to. There was a time you had it, like, in sports or sometimes in the military and things like that. Over the years, those types of things has really been cracked down on. But in this movie, when you go to veterinary school, apparently one of the hazing rituals is you have to eat a rabbit kidney and get covered with blood. So at this point, I think anybody who's getting into this movie, you can already see, this is probably the jump off point for this young lady who's a strict vegetarian, of turning into a carnivore. As we go on through this movie, her cravings for flesh get a little bit more intense. But is this a ritual if you happen to be in France and someone was hazing you? Do either of you think that you could down that kidney just to partake in your school activities?
35-year-old me? Fuck no. 16-year-old me with my sister there and like trying to keep up and get accepted into this school and be a part of this whole thing? Yeah, probably, especially since it didn't look like they were eating large quantities. Like, yeah. I guess you do what you got to do to keep up. And honestly, I probably would have resisted less than she did. So like, good on her for being like, no, I don't do that and whatever.
Yeah, my peer pressure level was pretty high. I would have eaten that thing and not said a damn word. I mean, that's just... When you're a kid and you're going through a new place, you want everybody to like you, you're just going to do it. Shit, I'd probably do it now. I mean, it's just a piece of meat. Give it to me, whatever. But I'm not a vegetarian and not what she is. So apparently it wasn't the greatest of ideas for her. Which brings me to the introduction of her sister. And I don't know if you have that in the notes, but this is where you kind of get a good idea of what a bitch her sister is.
It made me happy to be an only child.
Jesus.
Yeah.
No, I didn't put anything specifically in the notes on her sister being asked, but her sister did pretty much.
She's a bitch.
She watched her kind of go through this. Yeah, so
she's like, I don't eat meat,
she,
right,
sister?
Right?
Down her face.
Yeah.
They're all watching you. I'm like, so?
And I mean, later we kind of understand her somewhat mentality. Not that we agree with it, but God, I was thinking her mom and her sister are bitches. Like, that's like, by this point, that's what I'm thinking. This poor girl is docile and timid because she has very strong, aggressive parent and sister. So there's no room for her. That's why she's the smart one who doesn't talk or, and is very timid. So that's kind of what I was thinking by this point.
Okay. Well, she eats she's pretty much down for the cause, at this point, begrudgingly, but she ends up eating the kidney. She ends up getting a rash, and then she goes to the doctor and she's prescribed some medication for food poisoning. I like what they kind of did there with that. But later on, in the movie, we also find out that her sister, Alexia, has been prescribed the same medicine, for the same thing. Yeah. So at this point, after she's eaten the rabbit kidney, the craving set in. We see her steal a hamburger from the cafeteria, which she's caught for stealing. She ends up eating a raw chicken breast. And to kind of further her craving for meat at this point, she has her roommate, Adrian, sneak her to the gas station so she can eat what was it, like a shish kebab or something? It looked pretty good, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if it's from the gas station, it must be good.
I know.
In France, maybe they got some good shit at their gas stations.
Hey, you know what? I would not sleep on France or anywhere in Europe having way better gas station food than us, because their standards are definitely a lot higher.
They don't have the crunchy chicken.
Why is it crunchy?
so so as our main character Justine is going down this path of sneaking around eating meat, like she's fully got the meat cravings going on at this point, she starts to kind of slide in school because naturally this thing is affecting her in a lot of different ways, and she ends up doing bad in school and cheating. She has a conversation with her teacher about her about her cheating, at which she ends up leaving and going into this bathroom, and she throws up a bunch of hair that she ate. And I actually put this in a note that this was by far the grossest scene in the movie for me personally, was her pulling all the hair out of her mouth and all the spit was like in the hair. And I was just through at that point. I was like, oh gosh. And this, yeah.
I definitely paused on my hibachi eating watching that. That's for sure. There was a pause there.
And it wasn't really over the top. I think it was just the way that the hair looked. It really looked like she had a shitload of hair coming out of her. Did that really get you, Moni?
I don't know. The rash part, actually backing up a little, kind of got to me. I don't know if y'all seen Cabin Fever. That one's so good.
Yeah.
And they have all the rashes, on their skin. And at some point, the guy goes and puts Listerine on his dick after he bangs a girl that has, like... I was just like, put some Listerine on it. He'll be fine.
Sorry, I forgot about that. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I never forgot about that. That's classic moment right there where you're like, I'm a banger because she's hot, but also she's covered in rashes, so I'll just put some Listerine on it. It'll be fine.
All right, now.
So, on that note, that's what I was thinking she should do at that point, was just put some damn Listerine and move on with her life.
Oh my God, I'm dying right now.
So after all of that craziness happens, Justine ends up spending the night with her sister Alexia, and she decides to give her sister her first Brazilian wax because apparently,
God,
well, who does?
Now that was gross too, dude.
That's weird too.
First of all, I have 4 sisters, and none of us would ever hang around our parts. Like, no, I don't. Never would I feel like I need to hang around my sister's vagina. Like,
dude, I only seen one episode of the Kardashians, and it was the episode where I think they used mayo to like do each other's Brazilians. And I was wondering, again, I don't have siblings, and I was like, is this shit normal? Because I don't feel like it's normal to be like, hey, sister, let's see your vagina. Like, what is happening?
I felt the same way. I thought that was awkward.
I'm not like dogging people that do. I just personally don't feel like I'm that close with anybody in my life.
No.
Unless they're paying me and I'm in like, I got gloves on and I'm in like a parlor for waxing and it's my job. Never would I be all up in a family member's business doing something.
I would have been like, you want to do what with who now?
Yeah,
like,
no, that's okay.
You.
Yeah, y'all have fun with that.
Anyway, I'm glad it wasn't me who had just thought that was a little strange. Now, truth be told, I believe that there are people there where that's just really nothing. You needed a wax as a family member, so I'm not really knocking that. It's just something that's kind of, at least for me, I thought, man, that would be weird as Kristi had described, but. But to get to the meat of this situation, as she
did when she got the hair off.
I know, as she's waxing, and of course the wax is sticking to the hair, and then it ends up getting really stuck in one spot. So she's literally pulling it up, and Alexia decides to get a pair of scissors to cut the wax off this hair. Then of course Justine jerks, and the scissors cuts off her sister's finger. Her sister sees all of the blood and ends up passing out. Now, when Alexia finally does come to, she happens to look over and see Justine eating her finger.
Okay, that's when the hibachi eating stopped permanently for me. So go ahead. Sorry,
I mean, if anything, I would have thought that would have made her pass out again. It was like sister eating her finger. So to kind of fast forward a little bit, they end up going to the hospital where Alexia is admitted.
And she's just giving her the side eye the whole time, like, yeah, what happened, Justine? What happened to me?
But how do you
wondering.
not mention that? How do you not mention that? I think that would have came up, but at the end of the day, it didn't come up, and they ended up blaming what was it, Quickie the dog?
The dog, yeah.
Eating the
Hey,
thing.
well, snitches get stitches, and since she was already getting stitches, she wasn't going to tell on her sister,
I mean,
I guess.
we know why later, but at the time, I'm thinking, okay. Yeah, no, yeah, okay, no, we haven't got to that part yet. But yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to remember who is what here. But yeah, I would have definitely woken up and lost my shit seeing somebody feast on my nubbin that just got cut off me. That would
so creepy when she was doing it. Now, unfortunately, Quickie ends up getting put under.
Poor
But
guy.
yeah, that was a gross thing. But I still have to say, I think that the finger scene was something that was more, it made you kind of queasy knowing that it was one sister eating the other's finger. But the hair was just more gross. That was just something, ugh.
Not when you're
the
eating
finger
shrimp,
went on
Yardley.
and on and on.
Yeah, not when you're eating shrimp. When you're eating shrimp, that's a no-go.
Yeah, I guess we weren't eating hairballs this week, so.
And I'm sorry, but she sent a text laughing that they put the dog down. Like, that to me was more disturbing than anything. I'm like, really? You guys blame the finger on the dog, and they put the dog down, and they're like, ha, yeah, they put the dog down. Isn't that funny? I'm like, are you kidding me? I would be losing my shit. Like,
that's the sister. That's Alexia for you. Real.
She's like a psycho, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's pretty messed up. I don't know if I say it trumps the finger eating or some of the stuff that we. I mean, I'm sad for the dog because the dog got a bum rap, so that definitely sucks. But there's some other shit that I saw in this movie that I'm just like, that dog doesn't really stack up against. So let's kind of push forward though. Now, after Alexia's release from the hospital. Justine actually. Wait, let me just make sure. Okay. Later on, Alexia is released from the hospital and she's with her sister, Justine. And she takes Justine to a deserted road where is where I don't know why in the hell, like who gets this idea, but Alexia ends up jumping in front of a car. The car ends up crashing into a tree. And then Alexia starts eating one of the passengers that was knocked out, in the vehicle. And Justine, of course, she's the good one, so to speak. Even though she is taking part in some of these hazing rituals, she tries to stop her sister from, eating more of this passenger because I think she bit off a nice bit of the face, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, what did y'all think about because I mean, it just seemed like, why would she go to that extreme? That seemed like it came out of nowhere. Because I was like, why in the hell is this girl jumping in front? I mean, like, is that really your strategy to get hit by a car so it smashes in a tree so you can start eating the people? Did that not bug y'all? Like, what? I wonder, like, who proofed this script and was like, that's a smart thing to do? I'm just curious.
I mean, if you're like some kind of zombie that doesn't die when you get hit by a car, or if there's like some kind of insurance incentive involved, I'm not really sure. But otherwise, yeah, that was a little strange.
Yeah, I'm not willing to risk my life to eat meat, like whatever, they consider this as their meat or whatever. But yeah, no, I wouldn't be jumping in front of cars to eat.
Yeah, no, yeah.
So I thought it was bizarre. Yeah.
Yeah, so, after all of that happens, of course, Justine is taken aback and she ends up walking back to the school by herself. Now, despite trying to keep her sister from eating the crash victims, her cravings for human flesh, it kind of grows, and which ends up making her lust after her roommate, Adrian. Now, we meet Adrian earlier in the episode because I think at one point Justine had caught Adrian and her sister playing a video game, and then you could see that she had an attitude. So I think it makes us as a viewer kind of think that, that she kind of has a thing for Adrian, because I guess he was pretty much been the person who she's always confided like these changes that she's having too. What did y'all think about Adrian, as a character? I kind of wish we would have got a little bit more of Adrian.
Well, yeah, I mean, he was hot as hell, and
yeah,
he was. I thought he was good. I mean, I thought he was a good character. I agree with you. I wish that I felt it was kind of bizarre that he didn't seem to question her weird behavior. That part I didn't really understand, because as a roommate and who's kind of around when she's acting bizarre, and then I don't know, has that happened where they they end up hooking up
well, that's later. But he had his
Some
own
Listerine
secrets,
on it.
though. But remember,
he did.
but remember, he had his own secrets, so maybe that was why he wasn't necessarily prying into her deals or whatever.
I just he wouldn't just call her. I mean, she was blatantly acting a little crazy. So I mean, like really crazy. I mean, some of that I would have been locking my doors. I'm sorry, I'd have been like, yeah, all right, good night, and I would put like a padlock on the door. So it was a little strange to me that he didn't seem bothered by some of her behavior.
Yeah. What about you, Moni?
College, man. Things were wild. There was hazing going on. I mean, people were eating rabbit liver or whatever, kidney. So, I mean, it is what it is. He was having his own meat eaten when she walked in at one point. So, he was busy. He had his own thing going on.
He was living his life in college, finally, right?
Yes, he was.
Yeah,
he's adorable, though. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I guess y'all were feeling the soccer scene when he grabbed his crotch and Justine was looking like, oh, yeah.
Nose bled, and that was fucking creepy.
The first thing that I was thinking, though, because you know how they like zoomed in on him like grabbing his crotch, and then it like goes to Justine, and I'm like, if she bites his fucking dick off in this movie, I was like, I think that's it for me. You know what I mean? Once you start. You know what I mean?
There.
Like once you
autorize it with Listerine and walk it off.
Oh my gosh! But yeah, that's okay. Well, so I guess we all pretty much co-signed that. I guess Adrian was probably the most sane person. I guess I guess in this episode. Now, as mentioned earlier, we did find out that there was a little bit of jealousy with Justine and her sister over the character of Adrian, who was Justine's roommate, and eventually.
And gay. So I'm like, why are y'all bitches fighting over a gay guy?
Well, that's what Alexia says. She says Justine says hands off, and Alexia says I always assumed he was gay. So I don't think that, like, Justine remember, she's 16. She's super inexperienced. She goes to the gynecologist or something, or the doctor or whatever, and they said, what are you using for birth control? And she says, I've never had sex before. Like,
and they didn't believe her. Okay.
But she's really inexperienced with all of this stuff. And like you said, in her family, there was no room for her. There's always been bigger personalities than her. She didn't know any of this shit. She just met a hot guy who was really nice to her in her time of need.
She walked in on him getting his dick sucked by another guy.
Was it a dude? I don't remember what I saw.
Yeah, it was a guy.
I saw his abs. It was all a blur.
I didn't see. I mean, honestly, y'all, I didn't see that part. I saw when he had the. Are you talking about when he was looking at like the video? That was how I knew that he was gay.
Yeah. Well, no, but there was another part where he was getting head from somebody.
She opened the door. And a guy was sucking his dick.
I didn't know it was a guy.
Yeah, and she closed the door and just kind of laid her head up against the door, waiting for him to finish so she could go into her room.
That explains why he wasn't telling any of her secrets.
Either I was doing some other shit or I blacked out on that part because I didn't remember seeing that shit. But okay.
I remember his abs. That part. So
I remember the part where he flipped open the laptop. And then you could like see on the small screen.
Two guys.
It was
two guys.
Yeah. So okay.
No, it was before that. Yeah, it was before that. So that was just like a given that he's watching gay porn if he's gonna jack off, So
because I saw was abs at the part where he was getting loving on. So
that's what I was.
It was a male.
Well, when the laptop part came up, that's why I was wondering. I was like, that seemed like that came out of nowhere.
Nope.
But apparently not. Then that happened before. See, I didn't.
Plus, the sister had said it too. So
yeah, but no, he as clear as day was getting his dick sucked by a dude.
I might have to rewatch. What?
The guy turned around when she opened the door for like a hot second. Yeah, he kind of like interrupted. He just kind of turned.
Three different things, man. You must have seen the extended version, I swear.
Literal extended.
He was giving that guy the extended version. I almost fell out of my chair.
Okay. Well, after all of
Oh
those
my God.
shenanigans,
This has
after
gone
all
off
of
the
those
rails.
shenanigans, it totally has. But after all those shenanigans happened, and once again, I wanted to reinforce that kind of what Moni was saying. She's young, and she ended up having a crush on Adrian, so it bothered her that her sister was playing video games. So they all end up going to a party, and in another hazing ritual, Justine is splattered with blue paint, along with another boy who was splattered with yellow. And they are told and locked in a room, and they're told to make green. So at this point, I guess it, get it on and make green, and then we're gonna come out and do all of these things. So when they're locked up in a room, Justine ends up biting the boy's lip off. Now we all saw that shit coming. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, dude, I'm like, you're done. You're laughing now, but you're gonna be crying. You're gonna be crying later. Now, did the lip biting scene bother either of you?
Uh,
Was that pretty on your?
what happened to spin the bottle, guys?
Yeah.
Like, I had 7 minutes in heaven, even like that paint thing, next level. Like I said, they go hard in Europe, apparently.
This is where my problem starts because who the fuck bites a lip off somebody and nobody like
does anything.
reports
There's like,
it?
she's
Like,
crazy.
what happened
Yeah.
to the guy? Like, what? I mean, did he like go out of school? Did he report? Like, he didn't report her? Like, they weren't. That would not be a crime. That part really bothered me. I'm like, what happened? She didn't get in trouble? Are you kidding me?
Dudes, I went to France. I put my toe over an imaginary line in a museum, and the police almost arrested me. Then I took a photo of a shark in an exhibit, and the police like started whistling and running over at me. Like, you cannot bite someone's lip off, I don't think. Like, the amount of trouble that I almost got in for doing nothing over there, like, I cannot imagine.
Yeah, that
bothered me.
And just go around chewing on people.
That's definitely not something that I think that I could have let go as easily as a guy who had lost his lip. But needless to say, that was a traumatic experience.
He was super drunk. I don't know, but yeah.
Well, it was more of a traumatic experience for Justine, apparently, than that guy, because she ends up going home and confiding in Adrian about everything that she's going through. And you know what? They end up having sex. Now, once this sexual escapade starts off, we're all expecting her to go straight Pac-Man on
his.
And of course, not only is he probably uncomfortable of being with a girl, of course, she starts to get really rough and, trying to bite him, and it's crazy. But the thing that I thought was kind of a trip was she had to bite her own arm to orgasm. And I thought that was just kind of off the chain. So, of course, her and Adrian end up having a fight over that whole escapade, but the whole arm biting scene, that was super creepy to me.
Where she climaxes and bites her own self. Yeah, that was next level. Yeah, this movie.
And say that if you're trying to bite me while we're having sex, we're gonna stop having sex. Like we're done. Like, okay, she's like chomping at him, like while she's on top of him, and he's like, no, pushing her away, like, no bitey. I'm like, really? I think that we'd be done if somebody was trying to.
Mean dog.
Yeah, I mean, wow. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know. Maybe I'm on a whole other level that I've not experienced here, and I'm missing out on something. But when somebody's trying to bite me, we're done. So that was kind of bizarre.
Look, if there's one theme, it seems like party shit show. There's some type of a hazing party, and then it's followed up by a shit show. So after all of that stuff happens, of course, she has a falling out with her roommate Adrian, and then of course there's another party. These are young people, they're in school, they're having a great time. So this time Justine gets totally shit-faced at a party. She ends up hooking up with her sister Alexia, who ends up taking her to a morgue. So she's all drunk, and she wakes up the next morning, and all of a sudden she's in school, and everybody in the school is staring at her and trying to avoid her. She doesn't really know what's going on. So after her school lecture, her sister Adrian shows her a video from the previous night of Justine drunk, crawling on the floor like an animal, trying to take bites out of the arm of a corpse that her sister Alexia is just pulling out of her reach. That was pretty. That was pretty low. Now
That's fucked up.
It's
That
it's
was so fucked up.
Yeah,
Seriously.
Yeah.
I felt for Justine, and I'm pretty sure both of you ladies would have probably done as Justine did, immediately get into a fight, with her sister. Now this was a pretty good movie fight because basically it just totally entailed Justine and Alexia running around like this courtyard, biting parts off of each other. And Alexia bites off maybe like a half a tennis ball size hunk of her sister Justine's face, and they're biting on each other's arms. Oh my gosh, it's so crazy. But as they're biting into each other and fighting, it becomes kind of a moment of comfort in eating one another, because they're kind of crying and doing all of this stuff together. And then they're pulled apart by a couple of students. But where would you rank her sister dangling the arm in front of her, and them actually recording the video? Where would you rank that on the scale of just being low this is a family. That's pretty damn low.
Yeah, I'd be done with that bitch. Like, I'd kick her ass and then I would never speak to her again, basically. That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
That's fucked. That's so low of the lows, like so fucked up. I mean, that, first of all, she is clearly like her sister and is exploiting that, which is bizarre because she knows that her sister is experiencing this because she
basically did it to her.
It.
She pretty much force-fed her sister in the beginning. She said, everyone's watching, and, like, put it in her mouth. Like,
well, let's be honest. I mean, she started college and went through this rite of passage into herself, and now her sister is, and she has zero empathy about what her sister's going through, and it's like, how do you exploit that and use it to entertain like the entire school? I mean, that's so fucked up in my opinion. And
I think
I got some
jealous.
bitch ass sisters, but that's like that's some fucked up stuff right there.
I think she's jealous. I think that she's jealous that her sister is a brilliant student, and maybe she thinks her sister's prettier or gets more attention from whoever, and so she just wants to fuck her up and make her look bad.
Yeah, but that's like, that's life ruining fucked up. Like, I mean, that videos don't go away. I mean, that's on,
exactly.
That's not something where I'm going to fuck with you. I'm going to ruin your life by, there's never going to go away you trying to eat a corpse wasted. Like, there's no returning from that. It's like, what the fuck, man? That's your sister.
What a way to end the hazing week,
That's fucked up.
So that experience for the most part had concluded the end of the week in hazing rituals. So the next morning, like, all of that stuff happens, everybody pretty much blacks out after that experience. So the next morning, Justine awakens to find her roommate, Adrian, dead in his bed with most of his right leg eaten away. Now, at first, she thinks that she's killed him in her sleep, but she finds a bloody ski pole on the floor next to the bed, and she looks at his back, and there's a stab wound. So she gets out of the bed and finds a bloody and mostly catatonic Alexia slumped in the kitchen, holding the video game controller that she was playing with Adrian a little bit earlier in the movie when Justine got upset or jealous, so to speak. So Justine gets pissed off. She takes a ski pole, she points it at her sister's head, and instead of killing her, she decides to, of course, embrace her and get her to the shower to get her cleaned up. Now, for the most part, this concludes the movie. She starts to clean her up, and, then we get kind of a flash forward. And we see that Alexia has been put in the prison for, killing Adrian. So Justine and her parents are visiting her in this prison / hospital. And despite everything that went on when they were in school, the two sisters seem to be on good terms because Justine kind of presses her face, which was starting to kind of heal from the bite that Alexia took out of it. And Alexia, of course, kisses her sister through the glass. Now, before we move on to the last part, which I thought was a pretty interesting thing that they put in, at this point in the movie, would either of you have felt the same way about your sibling having gone through all of the things that these two went through in the movie? Would that be something that y'all could get over and kind of forgive your brother and sister for, for putting you through some of this stuff? Or would you blow it off, or would you just hold a killer grudge till the end of your days?
Go ahead, Kristi.
Well, first I gotta say, when she wakes up, first of all, she's got, her sister put the bandage on her cheek after the fight. Like, they're like, oh, we're going to take care of each other now that we've bitten off pieces of each other. And she wakes up with the bloody bandage on her cheek, which is clearly not doing the job. And then she sees that she's in bed with Adrian, and she's like, oh, he's so cute when he's sleeping. And then she's like, now we're going to have sex. And she reaches under the covers and, of course, discovers that she's all bloody, and then, pulls the covers back, and he's got literally half his leg eaten off.
And college. I hate it when that shit happens. You wake up next to somebody cute, and then they're covered in blood, and they're dead. Oh my God, it's such a hassle.
And at this point, I really felt bad for her because, her sister's a bitch, and she's going through a really tough time dealing with what she's dealing with. And even before the real ending, I felt bad for her because she's crying and holding him and going, why didn't you fight me? Like, why wouldn't you fight me? Yeah. Why would you let me eat your leg? Like, that makes no sense. And then, like you said, she sees the stab wound and she realizes, wait a minute, like, that doesn't make any sense. And then, goes to her sister. So I've already established that bitch would be dead to me after the whole video thing. But then that, like, I don't know, like, how does it go from that fight to nursing each other to then going to Adrian's apartment and eating his leg? I'm not sure. But yeah, no, that bitch would not be in my roommate's apartment playing video games after what she did. Hell no. And I was already feeling bad for her, and then you find out that bitch did it, and you're like, God damn, this bitch she's horrible. Like, I get if you gotta eat human flesh, but damn, you gotta be a bitch about it too? I mean, seriously.
Well, I mean, I blame Adrian, because first of all, seeing all of this shit both of these sisters are going through, there's no way in hell that you're going to catch me slipping like that, number one. You know what I mean?
Let's play video games.
Yeah.
No.
So I blame his ass for his own death, kind of, sort of. But let's talk about the ending of this movie. So we go forward a little bit more. It shows Justine and her father at their house, and her father tells her that what happened is neither her fault or her sister Alexia's fault, and explains that when he first met Justine's mother, he couldn't understand why she didn't want to be with him until the first time that they kissed. He then opens up his shirt, and it's got all these scars and chunks of flesh missing, and he tells Justine that he's sure she'll be able to find a solution. So how did that sit with you? The revelation from the father, like, this is something that's been going on. Do you that seemed to have kind of come out of nowhere, but I actually kind of appreciated it because I'm like, okay, this runs a little bit deeper. But even though he went through all of those things, it's not like that type of thing is something that's hereditary, shit show crazy, and wanting to eat each other. I don't know how that really worked for me, but maybe I thought that. I guess so. Maybe that's what they were trying to. Maybe that's what they were trying to tell us. But even though I thought it was odd, I thought that it was a real cool, creepy way to kind of close out the episode. Because in a way, to me, that was one of the most creepiest things. At the end, you're like, oh shit, her dad is like a little bit too cool with this. Because guess what? His mom was taking pieces out of his ass. So
he's a living buffet.
That is so fucking crazy. I mean, her mom was taking pieces out of her father's ass, which doesn't sound any better than the way I just said it a few seconds ago. But anyway, what did y'all think about that ending? Was that something that I just really had no clue that they were going to kind of pull that at the end?
So I saw it coming a mile away. Like the way that the mom reacted when the girl had meat in the beginning, where she was a total bitch about it. And then when we figured out that the sister had done it to her, I was like, oh, it's because this runs in the family and mom knew about it too. So like, I wasn't surprised the dad made that revelation, although it was still cool. But can we talk about these parents? Like the very, very first scene in the whole film was like, we're going to drop you off for college. You're 16 and your sister's not here in this parking lot in the middle of nowhere yet, but we're just going to leave and assume that she's going to show up. Like it just, from start to finish, obviously her sister's a bitch. Like they raised this bitch and then they send her off to college that has this hazing ritual. Okay, maybe they didn't know about the hazing ritual, but like knowing that the family has this problem, they don't tell the girls why it's so important for them to be vegetarians. So, I mean, it had the sister Alexia when she first went to college, like known that the family had this history of issues and that maybe she shouldn't try to have meat just in case. Like, what the fuck? Like the whole thing is so, I cannot even.
And why did they encourage them to become veterinarians?
Yes.
Like that's going to help your cause
I don't know.
Hinder it. I don't know.
Maybe they thought they'd bite a horse's ass instead. I don't even. And we never established in this movie if they needed the meat or if they just craved it. So it's like, when you say the sister maybe was excused a little bit because she has to eat meat, like, who knows if she has to eat? Maybe she just wants to. Like, did they ever, at least we see Justine, like, trying to not eat people? I don't know. Yeah. This movie was like, I know we're going forward into our ratings, but oh my God.
I got the impression that it was a need. Like, the second that she had it, it was like, if she denied herself, she got nosebleeds. Her body started breaking down. She was having like horrible like reactions. Once she had it, it was kind of like, okay, if you've never had it and your body doesn't know what it's missing, you're okay. But then once it's introduced,
but like, the mom was a vegetarian by the time we meet her in the movie. She bit the dad when they were first dating. What was she doing now for meat?
Well, maybe he had to, like, freaking lock her ass up and chain her down for, like, a year. I don't know. But, I mean, after everything happened, it was clear, like, that she was trying not to want meat and certainly trying not to want humans, but her body she was really struggling with it, like, overwhelmingly. Worse than like a meth addiction, I mean, it was bad. So I could see somebody at her age not being able, if it's in your genes and then that's like awoken, after you've eaten it being something, it's like a drug basically, and I mean, this movie had so many, like messages. I mean, it's clearly like a coming of age movie with, on a more fucked up level. Like, you go to college, you become yourself. Well, she went to college, she became herself. I mean, that's who they are in the family. And again, Moni, I have to reiterate what the fuck with the family. He's like, yeah, surprise, so your mom eats on me. I'm sure you'll find a solution.
Yeah,
right?
Put that on her. You're 16. Your sister's in prison. Like, I'm sure you'll just find a solution. It's fine.
Get out there and be somebody. Now,
good luck with that. Well, bye.
Yeah.
It was like,
but you know what? But you know what? Honestly, like, kind of doing this brief review, and there's a lot of subtle things that we didn't get an opportunity to talk about. Our review. But this is definitely a two for a movie. I am going to go back and rewatch this because definitely kind of, making the notes and talking about it. I know that there are definitely some things that I probably, some subtle things that were explained at the end that were actually put out there earlier in the episode. Because when Kristi was mentioning, the way the mom reacted, with her anger at the beginning of the movie, getting meat, obviously for her to have gotten that upset, there was something that was personal that was really triggering that. So we definitely know why. So I'm wondering how many other subtle things as we go through the movie were things that I didn't pick up the first time. So I definitely plan on rewatching it, and I would definitely recommend this movie to people. To be honest with you, when you look at Netflix, Netflix and Hulu and platforms like that, but Netflix especially, Netflix is getting pretty big. Like they're it's starting to be a thing where you have a lot of actors and actresses from mainstream Hollywood. They're trying to do movies and stuff, for Netflix. And I think that that's kind of good. You know what I mean? When you've got Spielberg hating on Netflix, you know what I mean? Well, I don't think that Netflix movies should be up for Oscars and things like that. Yeah, motherfucker, if they can.
A
Yeah,
movie
like
is a fucking movie. Give me a break.
you know what I mean? I saw Ready Player One,
Yeah.
and it was all right. You know what I mean? But anyway, I thought that movie. I mean, for me, it worked.
I respected this movie. I had a major respect for this movie. I thought it was very different. Maybe it's not boundary pushing in Europe. I heard apparently people were passing out and leaving the movie in Europe in the theaters. So apparently this isn't exactly something that's typical there either. So I walked away disgusted. It is I don't want to say think piece, but it stays with you and you're like, whoa. And you're kind of putting two and two together, like you said, Yardley, that makes you want to go back and kind of look at different parts and dissect and, put two and two together. I almost want to try to find reasons behind the crazy bitchiness from her sister. Why is this girl such a bitch? There's got to be a reason, and go back and find it. That's kind of my motive right now, because how can somebody be that horrible? What? And I guess if you eat humans, you kind of have to be, because hello, what, if you have to eat a human to satisfy your whatever addiction you have, I guess you do just kind of have to drop the whole I care feeling,
but they mixed a lot of things in this, though.
They did.
I mean, they had awkwardness. There's some things that make you think. They also had this with the blood and the way that they shot things. There was a subtle eroticism to some of that shit that they were doing too.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So
a lot of things I've read are quote unquote this is a coming of age movie, and it is. Here's the deal. And, when I watched this movie, I was not putting two and two together that people go to college in Europe at 16. I'm thinking this girl, which, I'm sorry, 18 isn't exactly you're ready for the gray hair, but you're older-ish, and so I was thinking, wow, well, she's never had sex. She's, in college, which to me is 18, 19, 20, and so I was kind of like, wow, where's she been living her life? But 16, that's pretty reasonable, Yeah, of course she's never had sex. So I kind of forgot that this was Europe and things go a little earlier there. So I would go back and watch it with a different kind of mindset, in that she is younger than I was in my mind picturing. I thought the girl that played her was absolutely freaking brilliant. I thought she did a great job with what she was given. I think her development was amazing. I mean, I was impressed with this movie. I was. So
okay. Well,
I'll say that.
Well, I guess with that, we should probably jump into all of our ratings. As I mentioned earlier, it got a aggregate score of 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, and like I said, it worked. It worked for me. So out of 10, I'll definitely, I'll give it an 8. And I have a feeling that after I watch it again, I might have a greater appreciation for the content once I can just methodically watch it slowly and kind of do a little rewinding if I need to. I think I'll appreciate it a little bit more. But once again, my score is 8 out of 10. Moni, how would you rank it?
5.
All right.
I kept waiting for it to be scary, and it never was scary, and it wasn't that gross to me because I have small children and I wade and poop, and I've seen the hair thing. It was called the movie It, and I don't know, man. Like, I don't want to think. I just want things to go boom and scare the shit out of me, and etc. And that didn't happen for me here. And it reminded me too much of It Follows, that film. What was it, like 2 years ago? And it was supposed to have this deeper meaning about like not having casual sex with strangers and blah blah blah. And it was like this metaphorical thing that was following everybody and killing them, but like, was it? And then I don't know. It was just so like, I'm supposed to be thinking. And also I had to read this, which is always a problem with the subtitles, so I had to stay awake for the whole film, and then nothing went boom.
Oh no, you had to stay awake for a movie?
It was a very sad story. It really fought with my narcolepsy, and I don't even know. So I give it a 5 because the hottest guy there wasn't on my team, and I just don't like it.
And he got eaten? Yeah.
Yeah, and he got eaten.
You know what?
Not even in a cute way. So
I have to Yardley. I give it a 7.5, almost an 8. I thought it was good. I really, really liked that it was original. And if you can do something different in this day and age, then you're doing something right, because that is really hard. I mean, shit, we've had horror for 100 years now, and we kind of run out of topics. So there are, eating people, cannibalism, what was that movie, The Green Inferno? Oh my God, that was a fucking crazy one. This wasn't The Green Inferno, and the reason why I liked that it was different from that, because it was just you're not trapped in a jungle with a bunch of natives. You're literally just going to school. And this just could happen to anybody. And I love when you're just going on about your business, going about your daily life, and boom, now you're a cannibal. I mean, how does that happen? I love that.
Less boom and more hazing rituals with rabbit livers. So that's
not going to happen to everybody. And that's what's so intriguing about it is these, the family did what they could to avoid this. But sure enough, she goes to college, and her bitch-ass sister makes her become what she is and doesn't give a fuck that she's struggling with it. And it was intriguing to me, and I couldn't turn away. Now, if you've got me not eating and not able to turn away, nothing's going boom, and there's not necessarily monsters, but you've succeeded in capturing me, and for me, I give that mad respect. So I gotta say, I was impressed, and I agree, Yardley. I will watch it again, and I will recommend it for sure.
Yeah, great. I'm about in that same space. So, Kristi, can we talk about the next episode, and what will you have for us?
So next week is my turn, and I hope everybody, which means me and Yardley and Moni, can go to the movies this week, because I am so stoked. I'm dying to go see A Quiet Place. It's getting madly good reviews, but let's not get our hopes up and expectations up, and just go with an even-keeled, no expectation attitude, so that we can give it a fair review. But Stephen King did praise it heavily. So I would love if we could review that our next show.
Nice.
What do we think?
This week is Friday the 13th. I don't know if you guys realize, and Truth or Dare comes out on Friday the 13th. That was the one that we had been talking about a couple episodes back as well. So I'm
That's
definitely
right.
excited to see A Quiet Place, but just as a reminder, because I might want to do it the following week, we'll see. But Truth or Dare is another one that we might check out soon.
Yeah, that's
Awesome.
cool. A good bookend. Actually, it'll be 3 straight weeks of some, at least, well, hopefully, we haven't seen A Quiet Place or Truth or Dare. Honestly, I am more excited about Truth or Dare than A Quiet Place because I read some reviews on A Quiet Place, and lots of people are saying that it's solid, but some people are saying that there's a stretch in the middle where it's kind of dragging. But just the concept of them having to go through this movie like not trying to talk, that's really intriguing to me. So
Yeah.
that's definitely a good pick, and we'll see. Let's hope for the best. So we'll
That's
see
right.
what's going on. And did you want to give any shout outs, Christy?
I do. Here, so on Fridays, you got Forward Friday on Twitter, and we always get a lot of love, and I never really talk about it. None of us do, but we have a lot of podcasts that recommend us, and I started listening to them because now I have a crazy, hella bad commute. And I would just like to give out a shout out to Fiercely Altered Perspective podcast, which is at the Fat Pod, which, sorry, that's kind of funny. Yeah, I'm glad you laughed too. Second, holy shit, I shit my pants. Astonishing Legends, Scott and Forrest Burgess and I have the same birthday, and he's a fucking legend in the podcasting world. And I died. They started following us this week, and they like our tweets, so that's totally... I'm sorry, I'm fangirling big time. So they're Astonishing Legends on Twitter, and they have a wonderful website with all their podcasts on it and like articles and everything. So if you want to visit them. And then, oh my gosh, I love, so one of my favorites is Halfway to Thundertown. They describe themselves as 5 drunk guys investigate conspiracies, true crimes, and talk about nonsense. So basically us times, well, adding 2 people. So they're pretty funny, and they give us lots of shout outs too on Fridays. So I just wanted to mention them in our podcast and tell them thank you for the support. And you guys should definitely check them out if, when you're done with us and you've had enough of our nonsense, you'd like to head over there and listen to some similar stuff.
Nice.
Oh, cool. Well, absolutely. Get your follow on, check out those other shows. And I definitely look forward to the next couple of weeks of podcasts because it seems like our content is definitely, I love it when we can kind of do things in real time because it's real hard to get movies that you really do want to see coming out back to back to back. So we get to see A Quiet Place and then Truth or Dare and then Infinity War and then Han Solo and then, you know what I mean? So like this next couple of months is going to be out of control. So it was definitely fun, ladies. We always have a good time talking about these things, and it's always fun. So I look forward to next week, and to everyone who's listening, we hope you take time out of your day and listen to us on your jogs or your morning commutes. Hopefully we bring a smile to your face, and if not, still leave us a review because we could use it.
I agree.
Yeah.
And Yardley, good pick. It's not every day that I cannot eat my meal. So thanks for that.
If only I had that problem.
Oh, I
Me
think
too.
I have to
Normally.
read my movies and stay awake.
we're gonna get Moni to rewatch, and then she might come a little bit farther on our
Nope, I'm
side.
gonna throw some Listerine on that shit and move on.
All right. Well,
Walk off.
with that being said, all right, everybody, we're out.
We are out. See ya.
Bye.
Yeah, yeah. Oh. Every time, baby, I look at you, do you know what I wanna do? I wanna bite your butt. I wanna bite your butt. I wanna bite your butt, I wanna bite the butt. I wanna bite your butt. I wanna bite
bring that hip. You don't know